for our students and our teachers and our families and the community. We ask this in Jesus' name, amen.
Excellent. Ms. Duhan, if you would, start us with the U.S. flag and then the Texas flag. Mrs. Duhan.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Wonderful. And thank you, Ms. Clark, for putting the titles on the pledges. That's we appreciate that very much. Thank you. Okay. So do we have any public comment? And did anyone send an email to public comment at HCDE? Do we know if anyone did?
Not to my knowledge. I'm not sure if Ms. Gaudabout is on the call or not. She's checking those emails. That public comment email address goes to her, and she did not forward any to me as of this morning.
We don't have any.
Thanks for confirming.
Okay, then let's start with the agenda. Consider and approval of an order authorizing publication of notice of intention to enter into a contract for the acquisition, improvement, and equipment of real property. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Don Sumners and seconded by Richard Cantu. Do we have any discussion on this?
Are we getting a presentation on this matter, or is this a different agenda item?
That's a good question.
I can provide a little bit of a summary, if I can.
Please.
I will share my screen. It's a PowerPoint that we send out. It's just a one slide per agenda item. The resolution would be advertised, projected on August the 10th. We cannot issue bonds prior to October the 9th, which will be the 60th day. Depending on the market, we're projecting to use 30.6 million in revenue bonds and 15.8 in maintenance notes, and local funds, a total of 52.4 million. The notice, because of the bond market, it's a little bit higher at 35 million and 19, but that's just because of the pending on the market. With us today, we have Louis Wills from U.S. Capital, and also Marcos Dietz with Orec and Company, which is our bond counsel and our financial advisor. They've submitted the order, or the notice rather, to the Attorney General. We've been going back and forth. You have the latest one that we have been working with him and the Attorney General. They'll probably come back with minor adjustments, and so subject to bond counsel final review, we recommend that the board approve the notice so we can proceed with the publishing of the notice.
Pardon me, I was on mute. Do we have any questions for Dr. Amezcua? I don't see any questions. Okay, is there any more discussion? Oh, so Mrs. Duhan.
You're saying that you're expecting potentially some minor changes to come back from the AG's office?
Yes, we project, again, Marcus, you could probably address that. The Attorney General sometimes like a specific word, a specific language to be added. And so we'll probably adjust it just a tad, in case that the Attorney General comes back and said so. But the latest one that you have is the one that was sent on Friday late into the evening. And so we're projecting to hear from them today or tomorrow so that we can go ahead and send the notice to the Chronicle.
Okay, but likely not any changes according to numbers. It's probably
Oh,
just,
no. There'll be more of a verbiage, if you will, the narrative. You need to add an address here or subject to or something to that effect. Marcos, if you can expand a little bit on that. I know you were mentioning it earlier.
Yeah, that's right. So we've already been through, this is the third round of comments that we've had with the AG. So we're down to the very wire here. If there's any changes that still need to be made, it, as Dr. Amezco said, would be something very minor. They just like to look at our notice beforehand, and in an abundance of caution, we make sure we send it to them beforehand. And so it's been pretty well negotiated. We're at the, just about to cross the finish line here. So very minor changes, if any.
okay.
Very good question. Any other board members have questions for Dr. Mesqua or anyone else? I'm looking. I see none. Does any board member have any more discussion they'd like to further have on this agenda item? I'm looking. I see none. Sarah, if you could lead us. Oh, Trustee Cantu, please.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Sarah if she was good with all of this, with this bond package from her perspective.
Sure. So I am, in full disclosure, am not bond counsel. That's Marcus Deeds is your bond counsel. And so he and I have been in discussions about the various submittals to the Attorney General's office, as well as the package as a whole. And from my perspective, I am comfortable with this.
That's great. And also, it's great to know that we do have a separate counsel for the bond issues. I think a lot of board members, including myself, did not know. So I think that's excellent information. Does provide a level of comfort. Does any other board members have any questions regarding this issue directed to anybody? I'm just looking.
I have a question.
Yes, Don Summers.
Have we signed a contract with the board counsel, bond counsel and legal yet?
No, it'll be on the agenda at the regular board meeting.
Okay. They are giving us an estimate.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? I see none. Looking again. Sarah, if you could lead us on the vote.
Yes, sir. President Dick,
Yes.
Vice President Norris,
Yes.
Trustee Cantu,
Yes.
Trustee Duhan,
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa,
Yes.
Trustee Sumners,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
That's exciting. Okay. Action item number 2. Consider an approval of a resolution of Harris County Department of Education declaring its intention to reimburse certain expenditures with borrowing proceeds. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Danny Norris and seconded by Trustee Duhan. Okay. Excellent. Okay. Do we have any discussion on this issue?
I have a brief summary, if I may.
That would be fantastic. Please.
Okay. In the next slide, again, there's only 2 slides. This is the total improvement. Part of that a capital improvement plan is to issue maintenance notes, and we've identified $15,873,000, of which, as you mentioned in the previous briefing, to issue maintenance notes because of the tax backing, it is much cheaper in the bond market than to issue a PFC. So what we're trying to do is basically take a credit for some of the equipment expenditures that we're going to have and already have. We look at back 60 days and we'll take advantage of that, and then we'll be able to free up for new monies for the PFC. And so this is a strategy to try to reduce our cost, our overall cost. And so we've identified a number of expenditures that will be included in here. So there are things like equipment, software, hardware, renovation, furniture, and capital outlay. So that allows us to free up fund balance money and be able to get a lower interest rate in our maintenance notes rather than the PFC.
Hey, Susan, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What would be the term of these maintenance notes?
I'm sorry.
The term of the notes, how long?
I believe that they're 20 years. Is that correct, Louis?
Correct, Dr. Mesco, 20 years on the notes and a little longer, 25 or so on the
PFC, on the revenue bonds, yes.
So what you're saying is that you're going to be paying for a lot longer than this equipment software will be usable.
The maintenance note, the renovation piece, to try to reduce the interest rate long term.
Okay, so how much is the renovation part as opposed to equipment, software, and hardware and furniture?
The majority is renovation. There's some equipment. There's about 1.3 million is in renovation. About 400,000 is in equipment, and then we have also other renovation, the 1.1 in equipment in 2021. So it's a combination of those. The majority being renovation work.
Okay, so what we're saying is, what's the total amount?
It's 2.8 million. We rounded up to, we think it's going to be approximately 3 million in the notice, but I'm sorry. I know that Marcus always likes to put a gap in there, so we put 4 million, but it's going to be more like close to $3 million.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other board members have questions? It's an excellent time to ask questions if you want more information on this. Looking. I see none. I do have a question. Dr. Messler, you said we'd get a lower interest rate with categorizing items as we could under equipment. That's what I understand you communicating. Was that correct?
Or for maintenance notes, when we issue maintenance notes, they're generally, because they're backed by taxes, they carry a lower interest rate. Marcus is anywhere between 50, 75 basis points differential delta between a revenue bond and a maintenance note. Just correct me if I'm wrong.
That is correct, Dr. Meswell. We're estimating on the notes in our runs about 2.47%, and on the lease revenue bonds about 3.04%. So we got a delta there of about 57 basis points right now on our estimates.
So the rate's 2.7% or 2.75%? Is that what you said?
Well, we're estimating 2.47 on the notes and 3.04 on the revenue bonds.
And that's as of right now. Those rates can move one way or the other. We think we actually, that's a little bit generous. We hope that we can get below that. Correct, Louis?
Correct, absolutely.
Okay, well those are very competitive, very competitive interest rates. That's a very good rates. Okay, I have no more questions. Any other board member have questions?
President Dick?
Yes, Trustee King.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the administration at what point would we get a timeline, or can we get just a brief description of the timeline from these bonds being issued to, I guess going through the process of reviewing plans, improvement plans for the administration building and for, I'm particularly interested in the Adult Education Center.
The timeline that we have right now is first to issue the bonds in 60 days, which will be around October, and to close in November. This month, we're going to recommend a pool of architects and engineers. From there, then there will be a discussion about assigning projects to architects and engineers in the next 30 to 60 days. And that's when the design development will begin to start looking at design patterns, all the different details regarding the project.
I've got a question.
Yes, Trustee Summers.
Can we delay the first payments on these bonds until sometime when construction is almost finished. The bonds we just issued, for the AV West, we paid, I think, 2 or 3 payments on them before we even got the school finished.
Louis, can you address that? I think yes, we could, but it would cost more in the latter years, because that means we will have to incur more interest, and also the principal will be it will not be even throughout. One of the key things that we focused on is, we can afford about a 3 million to 3.1 to 3.2 payment, annual payment. We've been comfortable over the years that goes down to approximately on average about 3.1. To delay that would change that average, and that would change that in the first 2-3 years, because that means that we would basically be deferring principal, and then now would have to pay additional interest as a result of it. Louis, can you provide a little bit of additional information on that?
Yes, sir, Dr. Amezcua. What we have now in our estimates is the first year, we do have a smaller payment that is due in our schedule. So for 2021, the debt service payment is slightly smaller, slightly lower than normal. And then we do have some softer payments just in fiscal 22 and fiscal 23. And then we pretty much hit full debt service going forward there. So there is a little bit of a lower debt service in the first couple of years, because we're trying to wrap around that debt around your existing lease revenue bonds and your existing maintenance tax notes. So you are getting a little bit of that, Mr. Sumner, about not having as large a payments, but there is still some principal payments in the first couple of years. And as Dr. Amezcua said, if we went to just interest only totally in those first 2 to 3 years, it would push that principal out further, and it would cause a little more interest in the long run, and we wouldn't hit those targets that we're trying to hit for overall debt service. But that's just how we have it estimated and scheduled currently.
Okay, well, I understand what you're trying to do the wraparound, but what interest rate are we going to be able to earn on those bonds after we sell them? For the money that we have in the bank, is going to be, the interest rate is going to be far less than the interest rate on the bonds.
Well, that is correct. Yeah, the short-term interest rates, even on a taxable basis, these are both tax-exempt bonds and notes, but even on a taxable basis, the earnings could be as low as 25 basis points in that range, because it'll be short-term earnings probably for that period of time.
You have to keep in mind that the last time that we had the bond issue on AV West, we were in an economy that was looking at rising interest rates. And so basically what we paid was less than what we actually earned. Now we're in an inverse situation where we are actually earning less than we're going to be paying at this point in time. And that's just because of the pandemic. Under normal scenario, that wouldn't have been the case.
Well, that's sort of my point, is that we're going to be paying 3% and earning less than 1% probably. So why can't we spend our $6 million on all the preliminary stuff early on and then sell the bonds and avoid that loss?
There's always a risk factor, because you're subject to the market. So if we're thinking that we're going to have, 2.5 interest rate scenario right now, that's great. But looking forward, I don't know that we're going to see the same rates, say a year from now.
Well, but you won't. You'll have that loss. Your interest rate would have to go up in order to still be ahead, because of the loss on the interest you're earning. And I don't see that the Fed is going to raise interest rates anytime soon, at least for sure, not in within a year.
Again, the market is subject to risk, and so it just depends on when the board decides to issue the bonds, and that's something we'll consider at the October board meeting.
Okay.
I'll just add that I agree that it is a good time to invest right now, and the interest rates we would be gaining would be negligible. So I agree to go forward.
Ideally you'd want to have high interest rates to earn on your cash. However, right now we're looking at trying to reduce interest rate so we don't have to earn as much. So it's one or the other. I mean, there's never going to be a situation that is going to be well on both sides. It's either you're going to earn more or you're going to reduce your cost. So because the rate, that's how they work. Louis, do you have anything to comment on that? I know you've seen the market here, be very volatile. Any comments that you may want to provide at this time?
Well, I think you're right, Dr. Amezcua. It would be great if we could borrow cheap and invest at high rates, but you're right. It never is in that same. You're one or the other. Right now, school districts, traditional ISDs that are borrowing with GO debt are borrowing out 20 years at less than 1.5%. Because they've got a full tax pledge, general obligation. We think our numbers are conservative here, certainly on the bonds as well as the notes. It's hard to kind of pass up a time to borrow 25 years at potentially 3% or maybe even less. I understand, Mr. Sumner's the issue of you don't want to have all this money invest, just sitting there not working, because you're going to be earning less than 1%, no doubt. The only way we could adjust the structure is to just try to make those first couple of payments interest-only payments, but you are still in that same mode of, you're borrowing at 2.5 to 3%, and you're earning during that 1.5 to 2 year period of construction. You're going to be earning, well less than 1%. But over the long run, by saving 50 to 100 basis points over 25 years, it'll really be more beneficial, I think, to lock in the low rates versus take some risk and maybe lose 25 to 30, 50 basis points if rates rise. And nobody knows what will happen in the future, no doubt.
The other thing to comment is the issue of supply and demand in the bonds. The May elections were postponed to November, which means that you're going to have a lot of bond programs that are going to be issued at that time. Therefore, the market is going to have more availability. Therefore, could potentially push the rates a little bit higher because there's more supply. And so, so that's one of the things that we're trying to accomplish, to try to be before that, so that we can capture some of these rates.
That's a very good point. And a lot of those elections, well, all of the May elections are coming in November. Towards the end of this year or first of 2021, we're going to see a lot of supply coming should those elections pass. Rates could rise in the muni market slightly just to try to absorb all that, as Dr. Amezcua said, all that supply that's coming. It may take higher rates to absorb all that. That is the one concern. It's not necessarily a Fed concern, but it's certainly a concern in just the muni market of that supply. That right now, that's one of the reasons rates are so low, is because there's no supply. And you can put stuff out there. People are clamoring for good quality bonds, and people are willing to bid and get better lower interest rates to lock in good tax exempt bonds. That could change a little bit in, towards the end of the year or early next year as this supply comes.
Okay, I just ask that y'all consider and try to time that for the best we can do.
We will take that into consideration and see if there's a possibility of, again, once we have the rates, we might be able to adjust that. Again, these are rates that are estimated as of today, so we still have to look at 60 days from now where that's going to be and see if that structure, we can adjust it a little bit to accommodate that as well.
That was a good discussion. Do we have any other board members have any other questions? I'm looking. I see no hands. I hear nothing. So I guess let's put it to a vote without any further ado. Sarah?
President Dick?
Yes.
Vice President Norris?
Yes.
Trustee Cantu?
Yes.
Trustee Duhan?
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa?
Yes.
Trustee Sumners?
Yes.
And Trustee Wolf?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, let's move to agenda item 3. Consider possible action on certification of the anticipated debt collection rate for the tax year 2020 certification of the excess debt collection rate. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Don Sumners and seconded by Danny Norris. Is that right? I'm getting the voices down. Okay. Do we have any discussion on this?
Yes, our values are 511 billion. Refunds were 431,631. Collection rate is 98.27. Uncertified 118 billion, 420 million, $401,768. And then the rest of the information is on the next item. So we'll talk about the next item. But that's the information on item number 3.
Dr. Mesquin?
Yes, sir.
Can you clarify definition of uncertified, that 118 billion?
Yes, that means that the appraisal district is still going through review process. There's been some protest and some review, and until they review that and have hearings and they certify, Mr. Sarmas, did I define that correctly?
Yes.
And so once the appraisal district certifies them over the year, they will send us updates, and so you see those every month until they get 100% certified. Last year, we restarted with 483 billion. We ended up right now at 480 billion, so not 100% get certified. This was for the first time in many years that all those have not been certified. Traditionally, 199% of those get certified. However, this time around, this last year, about 3 billion did not get certified. So I project that there's going to be some that are not going to get certified, again, given also the current crisis as well.
Let me clarify for a minute here. Item number 3 has to deal only with the top line there of 98.27%,
Right.
which is the collection rate that's given to us by the Harris County Tax Office to use in our calculations.
And that's based off of an assumption, correct?
No, that's based off of that trend.
Okay.
The law changed, and now you have to use the highest. I'm sorry, the average of the last 3 years. So we look up the last 3 years, and that's the one here for this last year. So in the past, you could do an estimate. Now you have to look at the trend. This was one of the changes at the last legislative session.
In past years, this 98.27% was generally what was actually collected in the prior year.
Right.
Does any other board or any board members have any questions, concerns, comments on this? Any more discussion? I'm looking. I'm seeing none. So let's proceed. Sarah, if you would bring us with a vote.
Sure. President Dick,
Yes.
Vice President Norris,
Yes.
Trustee Cantu,
Yes.
Trustee Duhan,
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa,
Yes.
Trustee Sumners,
Yes.
and Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, let's move along. Let's consider the number 4, agenda item 4. Consider approval of 2020 certified property values and the submission of the no new revenue tax rate and voter approval tax rate. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Okay, that was a motion made by, I'm guessing, Trustee Norris, and seconded by Trustee Duhan. Okay. Do we have any discussion on this?
Yes, we've, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Jesus.
Yes, we received the truth in taxation calculations, and we rely on the Harris County Tax Office to be able to provide that information. And the rate that we've been provided is 0.004760. We're at a special taxing unit, therefore we're at the 8% level, so the voter approved rate would be 0.005141. The recommendation is to propose a 0.004950. This will require a tax hearing and a notice for publication, and then we will work with the Harris County Tax Office to get the notice and put it place it on the Chronicle.
Can I get in now? I'm
Sure.
confused. I thought we had decided that we were going to propose the same rate as last year, that even 0.005.
Yes, because of the values that we're estimating at 95% of the certified values, we feel that we can bring it in at 0.004950 and still be able to meet our budget and have funds to be able to operate during fiscal year 2021.
Okay, so y'all just voluntarily decided to go below 0.005?
Well, we looked at the calculations, and again, we feel that that's being conscious of the economy and everything else. We want to be able to be mindful of all the calculations, and so we're able to absorb that into the budget.
Okay. So is that proposed rate going to be before the board?
Yes, it will be in the September meeting. We'll have to look at when we need to do the hearing and also the notice. There's a 10-day notice requirement, and I'm not sure that we're going to be able to make it for the August meeting, but we will certainly do it for the September meeting.
Well, I think we need to be able to vote on that prior to the time we actually have to publish the notice, because I don't know if we want to reduce the rate below 5 or not.
Well, this is to propose what the law requires is that prior to August the 7th, we have to present you with the information, and that the board moves forward with a plan of what the rate would be, because that would mean that we would have a hearing or a notice requirement or an election requirement, given what the board decides to do. So given our current budget and basically also the values, we feel confident about the 0.004950.
Okay, now let me ask you this question. My agenda item that I have says 0.0050.
Yes, sir. When we drafted that was based on the budget, but we just got this calculation this last Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is been changing, even so this morning, we're still working with the tax office to try to do the calculations and see if that will work for the budget.
Okay, Sarah, is that okay with you that we have an agenda item that says 0.005 and now we're talking about 0.004591? I can't see it because the pictures are covering it up.
Sure. So Jesus, what is it that the board actually needs to approve today? Because if it is 0.004950.
They only approve a plan. They don't approve a rate. They only approve a plan to develop so that we can bring back the adoption of the tax rate in September. One of the things that you can do is approve the agenda item, and you can always come lower than that number.
But you can't go higher, right?
You cannot just go higher.
Okay, so I think it's with that in mind, Mr. Sumners, I think that was a great question, but I think the agenda item is fine as is.
Trustee Duran, do you have a question?
It appears to me as though what you're saying is that with 0.004950, we would be capable of accomplishing all of the things that we wanted to. But I fear that with this period of time, if we make that change and we lower it, that we might be in a position in the future that we're looking like we needed something else, some more cushion. And I feel like the difference between putting it at 0.00495 and keeping it at the 0.0050 could be beneficial. It could be beneficial for us to keep that cushion. I'd like to open that up to other trustees and their feelings on that, but I would be afraid to go too low.
The cushion at this point in time, that would yield us approximately anywhere between 275 to 300,000 difference delta. And last year, the board moved from 0.005029 to 0.005. And that was approximately the amount of money that we did not realize this in the current year. And so when we looked at the rates, when we prepare the budget, we focus primarily on the revenue that it generates rather than so much on the tax rate, because we have to plug in how much revenue we actually get to collect. And so we with this number, we feel confident in that we'll be able to make it and still have the appropriate cushions available and contingencies in order to move forward with this. I mean, we can always have more, but I rather, not have too much, because I understand your concern, but we've tossed it around several times, trying to come up with a good medium to be able to recommend a rate that I think would be beneficial for the department.
And once again, the agenda item is not it's not the proposed rate. It's the 0.050. It's the one we had last year, basically, right? So right now the vote is actually on what we're not changing anything with the vote. This vote right now, we're just considering the proposal. That's what
right now. This is a proposal, and we will come back, and then you still have the September meeting to be able to set it no more than 0.005.
Any other trustees have questions? Don, you look like you're going to say something.
Yes, I'm back to, don't we have a accelerated notice requirement this year?
Notice requirement, yes. We have a hearing, and I believe you have 10 days that you have to have a public hearing, a notice. You have to adopt it prior to September the 29th.
Yeah, but doesn't the notice have to be sometime in August or early September now?
Yes, August 7th, that's when we needed to submit this information to you. If we had not taken advantage of today, then we would have had to have another special call meeting on August the 7th. And then the days would continue from there. So at this point in time, then we would have to basically look at the notice, look at the dates, and set it for approval. I don't foresee us having to have a special call meeting. I think we can still make it for the regular board meeting. The law does say, and I know I ran it through Sarah, was it says on August the 7th or shortly thereafter. It doesn't really say a specific date. And so shortly thereafter would be the next regular board meeting.
But our notice is going to have the .00451 or whatever it is.
The notice would have to look at what you approved today. If you approve that we want to move forward with a .005, or we want to go with a .004950, then that's what would be what we would go with the notice.
Okay, I think we finally got it squared away. We don't have another chance to decide on the rate.
Well, you can adopt the rate, a lower rate in September.
Yeah, but we can't, if we notice it at 04 whatever, then we can't adopt a rate higher than that, can we?
Right. No, you cannot adopt higher.
Okay, so we do need to make that decision today.
Yes, whatever plan you like to move forward with, either the .005 or the .004950.
Okay. So can I make a motion?
Oh, I think there already is a pending motion.
Well, we're going to have to change it though because of the agenda.
I don't think it specifies. Sarah, we'd need your input.
My understanding, based on what Dr. Amezcua said earlier, was that the agenda item as written that reflects the .0050 rate is accurate. Is that right, Dr. Amezcua?
Mm-hmm.
For purposes of this agenda item, which is to adopt a plan. That again, if the board desires to adopt a tax rate that's less than .0050, my understanding is that you are able to do so. You just can't adopt one that's higher.
Right. So you can proceed with a notice of .005 and do all that. And then we get to the date of the meeting, you can always adopt a lower rate.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion? I'm looking.
Well, let me say something. I think if we think we're gonna adopt a lower rate, we ought to put it in the notice. Can we change this agenda item to adopt the lower rate?
Dr. Amezcua, are you recommending that? I mean, because that, in essence, if you do that, that takes away the board's ability to adopt the .0050 rate, which based on the comments made by some other board members, there seems to be at least some interest in doing that.
Hold on. I think Don might be a minority on that view of amending it to a lower rate. I think that's something we're going to have freedom to do if we do want to reduce the amount. I think we're free to do that at a later time. I do think, Don, you might be in the minority at reducing the rate at this moment in time, or at least committing us to reducing the rate. I'm not saying there's any opinion on reducing the rate or not.
Okay.
I'm just saying I think you might be in the minority in committing us to reducing the rate. But please proceed.
Well, if the 5005 goes in the notice, that's fine with me. And then we can make a decision when we actually vote on the rate, if we have to. Thank you.
The 005 is consistent with what we presented at the budget workshop. Again, we can post it and then come back at the meeting, and that's basically what happened in years past. We have a recommendation of posting it, and then at that time we adjusted based, because the other thing is I want to make sure that the tax office doesn't have any adjustments. This has been an unusual year, and sometimes they come back. In the last 3 or 4 days, we've gone back 3 or 4 times in adjusting the no new money rate, and so that changed the numbers. And so this gives us the flexibility and also the ability to come back to you and say, here's the recommended rate at that time.
We'll get the first adjustment before September. But as far as this screen is concerned, I think we need to change if we're going to propose a 005, I think we need to change our document to 005.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion on this? And I'd note that there is some value in, showing a reduction. Maybe if we, in the future, if we did 0.4999, I might consider something like that. I don't know how the board would feel like that, but there is some type of there's some benefit to showing that we're being responsible fiscally, which I believe we really are. But without any other, does anyone else have any other questions?
Well, I've got a comment. I agree with you on that, Eric. I mean, I don't see why we couldn't put that in the notice, actually.
I don't think it's necessary to commit us to anything at this point in time. I think I think it's a mistake to commit us to it. Whether we do it or not is something we could consider in the future. But that's my opinion. I'm welcome to board's input on that.
Yeah, I think we leave it as is and let Dr. Mesqua and the administration verify the numbers from the county up to those last days before our next meeting. And then if they come back next month with the adjusted recommendation for the 0.4950, then we'll vote on it then.
I agree. I think that's very reasonable. Any other questions, or we're going to continue to move this? Sarah, please lead us in a vote.
President Dick,
Yes.
Vice President Norris,
Yes.
Trustee Cantu,
Yes.
Trustee Duhan,
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa,
Yes.
Trustee Sumners,
Yes.
and Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
I'm going to say moved by Trustee Duhan and seconded by Trustee Cantu. I think y'all both said it at the same time. Okay. Any discussion? No discussion. Let's put it for a vote, Sarah.
President Dick,
Yes.
Vice President Norris,
Yes.
Trustee Cantu,
Yes.
Trustee Duhan,
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa,
Yes.
Trustee Sumners,
Yes.
and Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0, and the time is 11:51 a.m.
Thank
Somebody
y'all.
said the meeting was going to last till 1:30. I think we did pretty good, right?
Did excellent. And I was very impressed with the information provided. And I'm also impressed with the low interest rates that we seem like we're trying to capture. I think the department in itself has done very good work on this. And though we have different opinions, I think all the trustees are very interested, and we're very proud of the work you are doing. Thank y'all all.
Thank you.
Thank you.